cold December day in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 30 degrees. The temperature will drop as we go for this interconference battle. It's the Green Bay Packers, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers today on Fox. And now welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Pam Oliver. Both are coming up. These are two teams meeting here this afternoon on 5-game rides. For the Green Bay Packers, it's been a great 5 games. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFC. They're on the inside of the playoff picture. They have 9 wins on the year. On the other side, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the defending Super Bowl champs. They've lost 5 in a row. They're under 500, and right now they're on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. But they have a lot to play for over these last 3 weeks. They've got a bad taste in their mouths, Troy, as they try and figure out what has happened. They're under 500, but a dangerous club here today.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why they are under 500 is because defensively they've given up entirely too many big plays, and they haven't created takeaways. Now, that has not been the problem on the other side for the Green Bay Packers. Their defense has been very opportunistic. In fact, they're playing like the Pittsburgh Steelers defense from a year ago. The other part of the Packers, and the reason they've won 5 in a row, is they are playing with a quarterback that is as hot as any in the league right now.
And the guy who catches passes from that red-hot quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, is Donald Driver, and he's standing by with Pam Oliver on the field. Pam?
And Donald, a 5-game win streak is not an easy thing to do. What clicked for the Packers finally?
Well, it's just confidence. You know, we realized that we can go out there and take care of business, and we can win games. And right now, that's all we need to do.
Facing the defending champions, a wounded team, but a dangerous team. What must you do?
They're the Super Bowl champs. You know, they say if you want to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So we got to go out here and play solid football today.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, sweetie.
Back to you, Joe.
Okay, sweetie. Nice work, Pam, on a cold day. Wind blowing around down on the field here at Heinz Field. There's Ben Roethlisberger. The Packers won the toss. They receive. And so we will look at Donald Driver and Aaron Rodgers and this offense, which comes in ranked 7th in the NFL.
Pam doesn't even let me call her sweetie.
No. Well, Donald Driver, no. But Donald's got that electric smile. And he was Pam's guest on Thanksgiving when he won the coveted Galloping Gobbler Award. There is head coach Mike McCarthy from Pittsburgh, grew up in Greenfield. And this is a special day for him with family and friends. About 30 passes he has left for this game, and he is back home and coaching a team that seems headed for the playoffs. Glad you're with us today on Fox. Reed pops it up, not a deep kick. And it's Jordy Nelson on the run, making the grab and picking his way up to the 28. 13-yard return, and here comes the offense. And Troy, really since the last time we did a Green Bay Packers game, things have solidified up front on the offensive line, and it's been relatively healthy, and the statistics are much better because of it.
Well, there's no question about that, and we've seen Aaron Rodgers not be sacked near as much during that time as he had been earlier in the year.
48 sacks he's taken on the season, but only 7 over the last 4 games. Blitz from the Steelers. Packers pick it up, and Rodgers throws it away. And Aaron Rodgers had to do good work to get rid of the football and avoid a sack. Ferrier was coming on a blitz. Ferrier is the left inside linebacker, as this Pittsburgh defense is a 3-4, same for Green Bay. And the architect of this defense is the great Dick LeBeau, who's a finalist for the Hall of Fame, and he'll find out if he is in. He should be, the day before Super Bowl 44 in February. 2nd and 10. Rodgers slings it high, and way too high for James Jones. 2 incompletions, and Aaron Rodgers has to peel himself off the grass here at Heinz Field.
2 plays, and twice James Ferrier has come on the inside blitz. This time they also brought number 94, Lawrence Timmons, who's able to take Aaron Rodgers to the ground. On 1st down, he was able to avoid the pressure, get the ball out. But the Steelers on both 1st and 2nd did a nice job in timing it to where they hit it on the dead run.
It's 3rd and 10. Rodgers with time, throws, and off the hands of James Jones. It's a 3-and-out.
Well, we saw Brett Kiesel, the defensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the things that the Steelers like to do, a lot like what the Packers like to do defensively, is move people around. And the Packers do a good job up front of blocking it up, and they had a chance outside of James Jones for the first down, just failed to connect.
Well, that didn't take very long for the Green Bay offense. 3-and-out, and on the return, it's Stephon Logan. And good starting field position for Pittsburgh at the 40. Derek Martin on the tackle, a 12-yard return. And the offense for Pittsburgh, if you look at the stats, and this is why stats can be misleading and why most of the time we try not to pay too much attention to them. At the end of the season, Troy, Pittsburgh is looking at maybe a 4,000-yard passer, 2 1,000-yard receivers, or 1,000-yard back. Overall, they are number 9 in total offense, but who cares? They're 6 and 7.
Yeah, I think in addition to that is they just have not been consistent. In fact, that's been the case for this entire Pittsburgh team. They've lacked consistency week in and week out. They'll put up a big number offensively one week, and the next week, like last week against Cleveland, a little over 200 yards.
Yeah, they were awful at the Browns. Here is one aired out for Mike Wallace. What a start. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
Wallace, the young rookie out of Mississippi, has had a heck of a rookie season. He's got great speed. In fact, Jared Bush did not anticipate him being able to just run by him, did not respect the speed that Wallace has. It was off of play action, and Bush did not get caught looking into the backfield. He just simply was able to run right by him. In fact, Wallace even had to hold up and wait for that one to come down. Roethlisberger not enough arm to even hit him in stride with it, but yet he was so far in behind Bush, he was able to get the touchdown.
That is the longest pass play for a completion by the Steelers this season. And while Mike Tomlin's group hasn't gotten anything out of last year's second-round pick Lima Swede, who's inactive today, they get touchdown number 4 on the season from the Blazer, Mike Wallace, who got behind Bush.
Yeah, it was play action away, but Jared Bush, as I said, he was man-to-man on Mike Wallace. He was not looking into the backfield. He did not see the play action fake there by Ben Roethlisberger. He just simply didn't respect, not knowing the kind of speed Mike Wallace has. And we were talking to Bruce Arians the other day, and he said Mike Wallace may, in fact, be the fastest player on their team.
Mike McCarthy went right to Jared Bush. If you realize that the Green Bay Packers have 3 corners on IR, they lost Pantley and Will Blackman early. They lost Al Harris, all on injured reserve with knee injuries. And so that depth has been tested, and everybody has moved up a spot. Some guys have moved up 2, and Jared Bush was just burned for a 60-yard touchdown by Mike Wallace. And a good start by the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger as they try to get back to the 500 mark at 7 and 7. Packers had it for 32 seconds, went 3-and-out. Steelers for 10 seconds and went one play, 60 yards and a touchdown. Jordy Nelson on the return, trying to give the Green Bay Packers a better starting field position this time. And while he does for the moment, the penalty flag is on the field. We have a new audience joining us. There's Troy's glamour shot. And if you're just joining us, you missed a 3-and-out by Green Bay, and then on the first play from scrimmage.
During the return, holding number 29 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st and 10, Green Bay.
That's Derek Martin. Started to say on the first play from scrimmage, like the Packers had last week at Chicago, a 62-yard touchdown run by Ryan Grant. Here's a 60-yard completion for a touchdown to the rookie Mike Wallace.
Well, and the thing that the Green Bay Packers did not want to have happen, they understand that they're coming in against a wounded dog and a team that had lost 5 in a row. They really did not want to give them any chance early in this game to give them any hope that they could win this game, and yet first play from scrimmage, the Steelers go the distance for the touchdown.
Game break coming your way as play action from Rodgers, who started the game 0 for 3, has driver deep, and he can't make the catch. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Game breaks. Detroit and Arizona tied at 24, less than 2 minutes left. Anquan Bolden, always tough around the goal line, scores the game winner from 5 yards out. Cardinals win it by a touchdown. Then in overtime, Tennessee's Rob Baronis from 46 yards out after an interception set up the game winner, and they knock off the Dolphins 27-24 in OT. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
And how about Tennessee getting to the 500 mark after that 0-6 start? And penalty flags before the snap.
False start. Number 71. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Starting right guard Josh Sitton, guilty of the false start.
You talk about Tennessee getting back to 500, and now they've got a big ball game on Christmas night against the streaking hot San Diego Chargers.
Meanwhile, the Chargers, they've won 8 straight. They're 10-3, and they take on Cincinnati as we play here in Pittsburgh. And I would imagine the weather's a little different out in Southern California. 30 degrees at the start of this game. 2nd and 15. Another blitz, and over the middle, pass complete to Finley, who gets 14 yards, and Rodgers is having trouble getting up. He got smacked again.
He got hit about as hard as I have seen. I'm a little surprised there was not a penalty on that. It looked like it was helmet-to-helmet contact. You're going to see it right here. They bring the Fire X blitz again, and it's Timmons who comes free. Actually, a good play there by Lawrence Timmons, but he got rocked pretty good. Actually, it did look like there was a little bit of helmet-to-helmet there. Take a closer look at it, and he comes in, and they have now run that virtually on every snap. And they've had a free blitzer each time, and most of the time it's been Timmons.
3rd down and 1. 6 straight pass plays, and this one's incomplete for Jermichael Finley. And so 4th down, and I think Aaron Rodgers is saying, hey, I just got hit in the chin by Lawrence Timmons. Why no flag? And here's that 2nd down play.
Timmons comes in right there. He actually begins the contact in the chest, and then the helmet slides up, and there was helmet to helmet, but it was not initiated helmet to helmet, and I guess that's what the referee saw there, John Perry, and did not make the call.
Campanos hits his 2nd of the day, and a fair catch called for and taken in by Stephon Logan. We'll take a break. Steelers 1 for 1. 1 play, 1 pass, 1 touchdown, up by 7.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com, grab your bag, it's on.
A crisp late afternoon, early evening here in Pittsburgh, and Roethlisberger is 1 for 1. There've been less than 2 minutes off the clock in this game. There have been 7 plays run total in this game, and still no running plays. That's Heath Miller. And a good start for Roethlisberger. He's thrown for 84 yards now on 2 completions. That was 24 to Miller.
And this one again is off play action. When it gets the linebackers, you see A.J. Hawk and Nick Barnett. They come up to bite on the run fake, and it allows then Heath Miller to have a nice open seam in order to catch that ball.
That's catch number 62 for Heath Miller, one off the franchise record for a season. Another pass, and an incompletion right through the hands of Santonio Holmes. The defense, coordinated by Dom Capers for Green Bay, is ranked number 2 overall. They're 2 against the run. They're 3 against the pass. Dom Capers was the defensive coordinator on Bill Cowher's first staff that he put together here in Pittsburgh in 1992.
Well, that was quite a hire that Mike McCarthy made this offseason when he was able to bring Dom Capers in, and the changes that he's been able to make, and then implementing the 3-4 scheme, as you said, has made a real difference for this club this year.
blitz coming from Green Bay. Steelers pick it up, and down the sideline it's Holmes, and it's not there. Good coverage downfield by Tramon Williams, and it's 3rd and 10.
You know, it's interesting talking with Mike Tomlin the other day and asking him, you know, what do you want exactly? What do you want the identity to be for this offensive football team? We used to know what that was, and anytime you talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you knew that they were going to be a running football team, a physical group. They've gotten away from that a little bit, but what Mike Tomlin said was, I want us to be balanced, and they've been anything but here in the early going.
Same can be said for the Packers in 2 possessions. Haven't run the ball yet. Third down and 10. And Roethlisberger gets away from one tackler and will not have enough for a first down. 7 yards by Big Ben. Nick Barnett on the stop, and it's 4th down for Pittsburgh.
And that's been the real problem for this offense during the last 5 games, is that they have just not been very good on 3rd down. In fact, overall, all season they've not been all that great, but during the last 5 games, converting only 28% on 3rd down.
Sepulveda hits the punt. Jordy Nelson with a fair catch out near his 12. 34-yard punt, nothing on the return after the fair catch. Packers have it. Down 7.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light. With a just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light, the difference is drinkability.
Take a look at some of the early game headliners. Vince Young is playing so well, obviously, and the Titans are red hot. They're now 7-7. Jerome Harrison, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. His 4th year, a 5th-round pick out of Washington State in 06. And Andre Johnson, another big day, as the Texans won in St. Louis, and the Rams are right now in the driver's seat for the first pick in the upcoming draft. Here's Ryan Grant, first carry of the day, and the feature back for the Green Bay Packers gets 2.
Yeah, Ryan Grant coming off a good game last week against Chicago, 137 yards. Of course, one of those included the 62-yard run that he had to open up the game. But the 2 games prior to that against Detroit and Baltimore, they did not run the ball nearly as effectively, and they're going to have a hard time running it today if the Steelers play the run anyway like they have all year long.
Handoff is to Grant over the right side, and Grant picks up 3. So 3rd down coming up. While Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense has struggled on 3rd down, the top rated 3rd down quarterback in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers. And that's not good news for the Packers, is Ryan Grant having a tough time. And he looks like he got the wind knocked out of him as he's trying to gather himself on the sideline. It's 3rd and 5. Down the middle for Jennings. What a perfect throw. Jennings still going inside the 20, and the Packers have an answer. 83 yards for Greg Jennings, his 4th touchdown catch of the season.
Well, you talked about Aaron Rodgers leading the National Football League on 3rd down passing. He had 11 touchdowns prior to that. Now he's got 12. And they are able to get pressure on him with James Harrison, but Rodgers steps up and floats this ball in there just perfectly. But Tyrone Carter, which has been the case throughout this year, another big play given up by this defensive secondary of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And it's on a play like that, Troy, that you think about the absence of Troy Polamalu. Somehow getting the snap down, and a new holder, Kapanos, the punter, who took over, got the ball up, and Crosby knocked it through. 83 yards for Greg Jennings. Another 3rd down completion. 3-yarder to Greg Jennings. Longest career reception for Jennings. Career-long pass for Aaron Rodgers. And for Greg Jennings, 13 of his 28 career touchdowns have been 40 or more yards. Right down the middle of the field, and Tyrone Carter missed a chance to make a play, while Polamalu misses his 9th game of the season. On the return, it's Burnett. And just a 10-yard return. Martin on the tackle, back to the touchdown.
Yeah, well, Chad Clifton might have gotten away with one right here on James Harrison. You see the left arm there up against the neck. Could have gotten a hold call. But right in the middle there, you see Greg Jennings. They give him a free release off the line. Tyrone Carter, you mentioned it, Joe. I mean, that's a knockout punch right there if you want it. But I think he thought the ball was going to be overthrown, and he was going for the interception. And then while doing that, he just simply overruns Greg Jennings and fails to make the tackle.
So a 7-7 game. And the handoff to Mendenhall. And last year's first-round pick, Rashard Mendenhall, gets nothing. One small point, maybe it's not a small point, nothing small. When you're talking about the Packers to fans back in Green Bay, the change has been made for the Packers with the holder. Matt Flynn is no longer the holder. Kapanos is, and he was fortunate to get that snap handled and the ball on its end and up in the air for the kicker Mason Crosby, who struggled to knock it through to tie this game at 7.
A lot of teams around the league blaming their kicking problems on the holders.
I think Nick Folk is out of guys to blame. The kicker in Dallas. Here's Hines Ward. And Ward is good for 4. Brad Jones on the stop, and here is that snap on the extra point, which is taken for granted so often.
Third down and 6.
Well, he does a good job, clearly, of getting it down. And I thought what Mike McCarthy said about that was good, and that Matt Flynn had been the holder, but Kapanos, those guys, they spend time together throughout the week, and it's just so much easier for those guys then to work on the mechanics of the hold and the snap and kicking the ball and all that, to where Matt Flynn has other responsibilities.
On 3rd down and 6, Roethlisberger over the middle, and there's nobody tougher in this league than Hines Ward. 10 yards and a first down for the Steelers. Catch number 78 on the year.
That's vintage Hines Ward right there. They go trips left. They got Hines in the middle, and then he's going to work the middle of the field. No pressure in the middle here on Ben Roethlisberger. He's able to sit back. They've got 2 defenders, which they typically do on Hines Ward. They know he's a guy that they want to get the ball to. He's the one who moves the chains, but Ben puts it on him perfectly.
On 1st down, handoff to Mendenhall. Bigby was the first to hit him. And Rashard Mendenhall picked up 3. The story with Mendenhall, he didn't become a starter until week 4. Last year had a broken shoulder that he suffered in week 4, so he was shut down in his rookie season. But he came in with 895 yards in the 10 games since he became the starter, which is a 1,400-yard pace for a full season.
Well, he's given them a little juice, and he had a little growing up to do early in the year. And when he got his opportunity, once he was sat down against Cincinnati, came back and got his first start against San Diego, he's been running well ever since.
2nd down and 7, and over the middle, it's Heath Miller. And Miller with a big gain of 14 yards and a Steeler first down.
Well, you've got the rookie B.J. Raji. He's in the middle here. He's going to be dropping out, and he's going to then be trying to pick up. As you see, he's going to be trying to pick up Heath Miller as he comes across. Now, he's not locked up in man coverage, but when he goes that way, there he goes, and he's got to try to somehow take care of him. And I'd be a little concerned if I was the Steelers and B.J. Raji, their nose tackle, was able to stay stride for stride with one of their better players on the team.
On 1st down, Roethlisberger sets up and throws, and penalty flags as Woodson went for the pick. Pass intended for Santonio Holmes, and this one's against Charles Woodson.
Pass interference. Number 21, defense. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
Well, we see Charles Woodson. He's up in press, does not get his hands on Santonio Holmes off the line of scrimmage. But once they get down the field, he does. And that's one of the areas, because the Green Bay Packers do like to play aggressively. They do like to lock up in man coverage. That a lot of these offensive teams coming into the game, they want to take some shots and believe that they then can get the pass interference call like they did.
17-yard penalty. The third penalty of the day for the most penalized team in the NFL. Mendenhall almost broke free. Picks up 2. Here's a game break. Here's Kurt.
The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the San Francisco 49ers. And we've seen this combination a couple times before, haven't we? Donovan McNabb scrambling, finding Deshaun Jackson. 19-yard score, short for Jackson. Nonetheless, it puts the Eagles up 7-3 in the first quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pat.
He is unbelievable.
I mean, you talk about a guy who has completely changed the makeup of a ball club. I mean, Deshaun Jackson and the big play ability that he has given that team has been remarkable.
2nd down and 8. Mendenhall broke through 1 tackler and picks up 4. For Deshaun Jackson, 8 touchdowns or 50 or more yards. Last week, a 60-yard touchdown pass and a 72-yard punt return at the Giants. He is a major reason why the Eagles are on top in the NFC East, and what a big win last night for the Dallas Cowboys. A 7-point win at New Orleans. Their perfect season is over, and Tony Romo, 312 passing yards, could not have played any better.
Well, a Cowboy team that went from being a December punchline to now a team that I think people look at a little bit differently as far as what they might be able to do if they're able to hold on to that number 6 seed and get in the playoffs.
It's 3rd down and 4. Roethlisberger and hits Ward for a 1st down. But a penalty flag is on the field, and it's against Green Bay. That's the indication.
Another hold there in the secondary on Green Bay.
Prior to the pass, holding number 21 defense. That penalty will be declined. The result of the play, 1st down, Pittsburgh.
Another one on Charles Woodson.
You know, Hines Ward, they get used to this. I mean, he's trying to stay alive. He sees Ben Roethlisberger scrambling. He starts like he's going to go to the end zone. He comes back around. And in talking with Hines Ward, I asked him if there were any specific rules that he and the receivers had when Roethlisberger got out on the edge scrambling. He said, not really. We just do our best to get open. But because he scrambles so much, sometimes we fail to run our routes as precisely as what we should, anticipating the scramble.
Fake the handoff. Santonio Holmes with Heath Miller in front to the 1. That'll set up a 1st and goal. They're going to mark Holmes out at the 2, and it's 1st and goal, a 12-yard catch for Holmes.
And get it out to Santonio Holmes quick and get a blocker out in front of him with Heath Miller on Tremont Williams and get as much of it as you can. And you know, I like what Pittsburgh has done here. They have been balanced on this series, moving the football. They haven't had a great deal of success running it, but they've stuck with it. Green Bay, of course, the number 2 run defense in all of football.
Here's Mendenhall. Stayed after it and has the touchdown. Survived a hit from Nick Barnett and spun his way in for 6.
Yeah, watch Nick Barnett. He hits it and does a good job. He fails to wrap up right there. And Mendenhall, and this is what Mike Tomlin was talking about. Mendenhall is a powerful man, and he moves piles. And so even though Barnett had a free look at it and got the hit on him, he's able to bounce that and still get it into the end zone.
It's 14-7 Steelers, 10-play drive, 5 runs, 5 passes. Big Ben 5 for 5 on the drive. Steelers upset. Mendenhall with his 7th touchdown of the season. There's the drive, and it leaves 3:47 left in the opening quarter here in Pittsburgh. We've seen a ton of action, 21 points, and Green Bay about to get it back. Jordy Nelson set to return it. The foot of Jeff Reed, who has only 1 touchback all season. And this won't be number 2. Nelson from about the 14-yard line. Good return by Jordy Nelson. It was a penalty by Woodson, interfering with Santonio Holmes. After a completion to Holmes on the other side, Mendenhall pops it in. Steelers up by 7.
Hi, this is Captain Paula Arquette from Baghdad, Iraq. I'd like to say hi to my family in Messina, New York. My mom, my dad, my niece, my nephew, my brother, and my sister-in-law. Happy holidays. I love you.
And happy holidays right back to you and all the men and women in the armed services during this holiday season. Wonder if she's a Jets or a Giants fan. Jets lost today at home to Atlanta. Giants play a big one tomorrow night against the Redskins. On first down, Ryan Grant. Full head of steam, gets 6. Casey Hampton on the stop, and it's Casey Hampton who anchors this 3-4 defense right in the middle at the nose tackle position.
Yeah, and you better have a big guy like Casey Hampton when you run the 3-4 scheme that Pittsburgh does, that they've had so much success with over the years. In fact, the Green Bay Packers, when they went to the 3-4 scheme this year, they drafted B.J. Raji with their first pick because they knew how valuable that position would be.
Another blitz, quick throw, and the pass incomplete for Driver. William Gay was closing in on it defensively for Pittsburgh. It's 3rd and 4.
They've had a couple opportunities now Aaron Rodgers has with these receivers, and they've just not been able to make the connection. Ball just a little bit out in front there of Donald Driver, and him not able to reel it in. But we saw there on that first possession also a couple of open receivers, and Rodgers was a little high on some of those.
Third down, Rodgers slings it, and the pass is dropped. That's Driver again. Right into his gut and then down to the grass, and it's 4th down for Green Bay.
Well, Dick LeBeau likes to give you a lot of different looks, and inside they bring the linebackers once again, and it looked to me like William Gay, if he had been playing the ball there, he could have undercut that one and taken it to the house.
Yeah, I said into his gut. It was the right arm of William Gay that got in there and broke it up. Good play.
Yeah, he kind of throttled it down a little bit, but if he had stayed on the move, I think he could have had an easy interception there.
Campanos hits it. Stephon Logan on the return, gets to the sideline, and then gets knocked out by Derek Martin. Well, we talked about Mike McCarthy being from Pittsburgh. He is from Greenfield. Aiello's Pizza, according to him, devoured thousands of slices there. St. Rosalita's grade school and church, McGee Field. There's his high school graduation picture, and a bar and grill that his father owned, and where Mike worked in his younger days. And his father, a police officer, a firefighter, and there's Mike's picture hanging on the wall.
And I guess Mike's mom, Ellen, is not at the game today. She's at home watching it on television. She's got babysitting duties with the grandkids. So happy holidays to Ellen.
On first down, this is Santonio Holmes, and the rookie Brad Jones wasn't fooled at all. A loss of 2, and when you come back home and you have all those tickets and passes to leave before the game, it's hugs from everybody on the sideline. And this is a special moment, and Mike McCarthy said as much.
Yeah, we had a chance to visit with him the other day, and he was excited about coming home and excited about having his family here to be here with him on his homecoming, and he was really looking forward to it. Good for him.
The last shot was Joe McCarthy Jr., Mike's father, who gets to share this moment with his 46-year-old son. 2nd down and 12. A blitz. Green Bay doesn't get there, and Hines Ward makes the catch. Smacked by Jarrett Bush after a gain of 7. How about that?
It looked like that Monday Night Football graphic when the helmets collide. They couldn't separate them.
That's Ramon Foster, who had somebody's helmet stuck to his.
Okay.
It's Cullen Jenkins.
A little stare down here.
You want to take yours off, or should I take mine off? You take yours off, Cullen. It's 3rd down and 5.
Pittsburgh.
So much movement defensively for Green Bay these days prior to the snap, and Roethlisberger trying to figure it out. Had to spin around and take a timeout. We look at the division leaders in the NFC. New Orleans now 13-1 with their loss last night. Minnesota plays tonight, take on Carolina. Philadelphia's playing as we speak and leading the 49ers 7-3. And Arizona, they won today. They're 9-5. The wild card leaders, Green Bay at 9-4, Dallas 9-5. These two teams certainly have their playoff hopes well within their own hands. And then in the hunt, the Giants at 7-6 play tomorrow night. And San Francisco is still breathing.
Well, I think Green Bay, watching that game last night, was anticipating that they would be playing this one, for a spot in the playoffs. If the Cowboys had lost and they win here today, then they're in. If they win today, now they're waiting to see if the Giants would then lose and they're in. But it got a whole lot interesting for that #1 seed with the Saints losing last night.
3rd down and 5. Roethlisberger is hit from behind, lost the football. That was the rookie Matthews, and Green Bay takes over. Matthews, who leads this team with 8 sacks, took over as a starter week 4, and it was Matthews who forced it and recovered it.
Well, you're going to see him off the edge. This is now his 5th sack in just the last 4 games. He just uses a speed rush right behind Starks and comes in behind. And Ben, who's got pretty good protection up inside, if he's able to step up, if he's feeling Matthews coming in behind him, then he's got some room. But he does not. I tell you, Clay Matthews has had a heck of a rookie year. I mean, this guy has come in from the University of Southern California as a rookie and made a real difference in this 3-4 scheme. And there's so much asked of that position, not only playing the run, but then also being asked to be a edge rusher, that is, in their sub packages, and he's been outstanding.
A challenge from Tomlin, as Matthews now has a franchise rookie record with his 9th sack. Looks like that ball's out. We'll get the call when we come back. Right now, Green Bay has it, down 7. Game for a takeaway by this defense. 2nd longest streak going in the NFL. And what a play by Clay Matthews.
Well, watch him off the edge here, right there when he ducks underneath Starks. I mean, he starts with the speed rush, and then once he gets even with him is when he was able to duck down and then make his move. And I mean, this guy has been a playmaker really once he got inserted in the lineup. He was not the starter from the beginning, but after a few weeks they then made him the starter, and he has been outstanding. A lot of times these rookies, they hit the rookie wall about this time of year, but with him, he's only gotten better. I mean, over the last month of the season, his impact has been enormous.
A long look under the hood by John Perry. Looked pretty clear cut to me, like the ball was out sitting on his shoulder pad as then the arm came forward. Play was 3rd down anyway, so even if the Steelers win this challenge, they'll have to punt. But right now, it's Green Bay's ball. They have only 1 first down offensively in this game, and that came on the 83-yard touchdown completion to Greg Jennings. Ball right now is at the 27.
Yeah, it looked to me, Joe, like Clay Matthews, he's able to make contact with the ball before his arm is really starting forward. And from what I could tell, you look for the open hand when they're moving the arm forward in the throwing motion, and is the ball then gone? And if that's the case, then it's an incompletion. That's about as close as it'll get in trying to determine whether or not it's an incompletion or a fumble. But my best guess is that's a fumble.
I'm with you, but we are still waiting for John Perry to appear and give the call. Here he comes. But again, even if Pittsburgh wins this challenge, it'll be 4th down.
After reviewing the play, the quarterback had possession of the ball with the arm going forward prior to it coming loose. Therefore, it is an incomplete pass. 4th and 5 on the left hash, 34-yard line. Pittsburgh is not charged with a team timeout. 1:14 on the game clock.
Well, you and I are in agreement. John Perry isn't. And Ben Roethlisberger was surprised when the call was made. Wow.
Yeah, well, even when the coach came over to talk to him about it, he's saying, gosh, and, you know, Clay, of course, he thinks the opposite, but, you know, they dodged one there because now, yeah, even though it's 4th down, at least they're able to advance the ball with the punt and not give the Packers the short field.
Well, I just disagree with the call. I thought the ball was out before the arm was going forward, but call made by John Perry, and it's a worthwhile challenge by Mike Tomlin. But here's the punt by Sepulveda, and he shanks it off the side of his foot. Takes a decent bounce for Pittsburgh, and the ball is at the 27-yard line of the Green Bay Packers. And so a big change in field position after the overturned call. We welcome you back inside our booth, and we talked about it coming on the air that Pittsburgh, even though they're under 500, they were a dangerous team for Green Bay to play today, and it certainly looks like that's holding up so far.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, Green Bay knew that coming in. I mean, this is a team that, you know, sometimes you tend to look at it as far as what has happened in recent weeks, and you say, wow, this team's just not very good, but, you know, nothing could be further from the truth. A number of playmakers for this Pittsburgh team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
That challenge in the overturn saved Pittsburgh 46 yards of field position, and now this one is incomplete in the direction of Greg Jennings, although not close to him at all.
You know, Aaron Rodgers, he's off to a tough start in this ball game. He's got the long touchdown throw, but he's only had 2 completions now in his first 10 attempts, and he's been hit a number of times in addition to that.
Packers have had it 4 times, 3 3-and-outs, and then the touchdown throw, the 3rd play of a possession, 83 yards to Jennings. Here's a completion that goes nowhere. Jennings makes the catch, and out there's Timmons. Donald Lee, the tight end, rather, not Jennings, and it's Lee making his 34th catch of the season. It's 3rd and 10, and this Green Bay Packer offense, save for 1 play, hasn't been able to do anything.
Well, they went to a quick passing game right there, trying to keep the hits off Aaron Rodgers. They run the slant in behind it, a flat route with Lee, and Timmons in great coverage and makes the play.
Third down and 10. Rodgers throws and completes. That's Driver. Donald Driver into the open field, and now down inside the 25. For Driver, 49 yards and 2 big 3rd down completions by Aaron Rodgers in this game. And that's the way the first quarter comes to a close. 14-7 Steelers. Packers are on the move with a ball inside the Steeler 25. Back after this from your local Fox station. A 49-yard completion to Donald Driver sets up first down at the Steeler 24 and makes that win on the challenge by Tomlin academic. As Rodgers sets up, backs up, outside the pocket, so he throws it away. Back to the 49-yard completion to Driver.
Well, there was little doubt as to where Aaron Rodgers was going to go with the football. You can tell, and he's staring it down from the time he got to the top of his drop, and inside it was just zone coverage, and they give him a free release off the ball. Donald Driver runs the dig route, and Aaron Rodgers puts it on him, and at the end of this is when James Harrison drives him into the ground, and looked like he might have a word or two to say to him there at the bottom. James Harrison hasn't had the big splash plays this year that earned him Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, but he is still a force.
Rodgers has been hit 5 times, 2nd down. Backing up as he throws it. That's Jennings on the completion. And Jennings gets 8. Timmons downfield to make the stop for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that was Aaron Rodgers' 5th completion today, but 2 of those have gone for 132 yards. And for those that have been following the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, they're all too familiar with the big plays that they've seen in this ballgame.
Another 3rd down for Green Bay. And inside the red zone are the Packers, down by 7. Handoff is to Jackson. And Jackson is driven backward as he got to the 15-yard line. A gain of 1. Tyrone Carter, the first player there for Pittsburgh.
And Tyrone Carter, it looked like Jackson was about to bounce that thing out and maybe pick up the first down, but Tyrone Carter, doing his Troy Polamalu impersonation, was right there to finish him off.
And it brings up 4th down. 4th down and a yard, and the field goal unit is on for Green Bay. And a 34-yard try by Crosby, who has struggled. Good snap, good hold, and the field goal is pushed wide right. That's now 4 straight games that Crosby has missed from inside 45 yards. A 34-yarder is wide. Steelers still lead by 7. Another miss by Mason Crosby, who's now 24 of 33 for the season. He's missed 7 of his last 20. And it's still a 7-point game. Steelers have it up 14-7. And a flea flicker. Roethlisberger nowhere to go with it, so he dumps it off to Mendenhall. And Mendenhall, who has the ball in his hands twice on that play, gets 10. Depends on the spot as to whether it's enough for a first down, and it is.
Well, they run the flea flicker, and Green Bay played it perfectly down the field. They were not fooled, but at the end of this, you've got Ward coming back trying to put the big hit on A.J. Hawk, and he's the one who winds up taking out Mendenhall. I mean, that looked dangerous. Ward coming in from behind. Of course, we already know that they've got the ruling in this year in order to keep a receiver from making a block backside without a receiver looking. But Ward was the one who came out of that one injured.
Hand off to Mendenhall, trying to get to the edge. Penalty flag comes in the area of a hold. A loss of 2 on that run by Mendenhall.
Number 83, offense, 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
That's on Heath Miller. We look ahead to next week. It's a single header weekend on Fox. Here are the early games. The Panthers at the Giants, Buccaneers and Saints. Seahawks will be in Green Bay. And then late you could get the Rams and Cardinals or the Lions at the 49ers. Two more games to go after this weekend. And it's 1st and 20 for Pittsburgh. Hand off to Mendenhall. 2 blockers in front of him. Barnett makes the play. And Mendenhall gets 10. Back to the original line of scrimmage. It's 2nd and 10.
You know, in talking with Bruce Arians the other day and how they're going to run the ball against this Green Bay team, you know, typically you start thinking about, okay, we'll, you know, line up in 2-back sets and do some of those things. But sometimes the easiest formations to run the ball out of is when you go to the spread formations and kind of clean everything up for those offensive linemen and just try to keep the defensive players from locking down in the box and getting so many bodies in there.
Here's Mendenhall again to the 39. Game 4, 3rd down coming up.
You know, we talk about this Green Bay defense and the progress that they made this year. And I know in talking with Mike McCarthy, he made it very clear when he was interviewing for a defensive coordinator that he felt that they had playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. And he made it very clear to Dom Capers once he got the job that, you know, we expect this to be a top-notch defensive football team, and boy, have they been that.
Blitz coming from Green Bay, and this is Mewelde Moore, who cannot hang on. Incomplete. It's 4th down.
Well, they had a chance there for an awfully big play. They brought Tramon Williams, the corner blitz, and the Pittsburgh Steelers picked it up nicely. And if Mewelde Moore had been able to make that catch, he was one-on-one there with safety Nick Barnett.
Here's Sepulveda, his 3rd punt of this first half. And this is his best. Jordy Nelson from the 16. Somehow stays on his feet. Outruns a couple of tacklers and then gets hit out of bounds, and a flag will be thrown. Joe Burnett, the rookie, was along the sideline and hit Jordy Nelson when he was out of bounds.
Well, not very smart there by Joe Burnett. I mean, clearly you've got Jordy Nelson who's on his way out of bounds.
Foul. Late hit out of bounds. Number 27 of the kicking team. 15 yards from the end of the run. 1st and 10, Green Bay.
Take a timeout. 45-yard punt. 13 on the return plus 15 on the penalty. A couple of big plays in this game and a 7-point Steeler lead. Last week against the 49ers. Warner's better today, and the Cardinals survived a scare from Maurice Morris and the Detroit Lions today. And Josh Cribbs, 2 kickoff return touchdowns after a big game last Thursday against these Steelers. Ten and a half to play in the half, and Rodgers throws and completes. That's good for 12 yards to Jermichael Finley, the big tight end, and we go back to the penalty on Burnett.
Yeah, you see Joe Burnett. Jared Bush actually for the Packers does a good job on him. Joe Burnett stays alive, and he's got to run clear across the field in order to try to get a hit here on Jordy Nelson. And by gosh, if he's going to work that hard, he's going to get a hit on him. And he did, whether he was out of bounds or not. You know, a lot of these guys like Joe Burnett that are rookies that come into the league, they're not used to playing special teams. This is a little bit different for some of these college players coming in.
Pass to Driver. He dropped it. Looked like a good throw from Aaron Rodgers, who kind of turns his back in frustration, and Donald Driver had it in his hands and let it go.
You don't see that very often from Donald Driver. He's got some of the surest hands in all of football.
Those hands were broken in by the Brett Favre fastball.
Literally broken in. I think he told me one time he thinks he's broken every finger on his hands from old number 4 over the years.
On second down, it's Ryan Grant. Not much. And it's Hampton out there to make the play, a gain of only 1.
I mean, you look at Green Bay and their lack of ability of running the football here in the early going of this ball game, and yet they're sticking with it, and rightfully so. One, because you can't just get into a game to where you're just dropping back and throwing it. That's awfully tough on these offensive linemen. But also, if you look over the last 3 games of the teams that have faced the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have run the ball actually very well, much better than what their season averages would indicate.
Third down and 9. Play clock was at 1, and the pass dropped again. This time James Jones.
Yeah, I think even if James Jones had been able to make that catch, he was not going to be able to get enough for the first down. He was short, well short of where the drop took place, but it didn't look like he was going to be able to get away from anybody in order to get the yards needed.
Weldy Moore now waits for the punt from Kapanos, and we'll see how good the rookie Kapanos is at downing it inside the 20. Hangs this one high. Moore lets it go, and this one is out of bounds in the end zone. Like it went right over the pylon, and they're going to call it a touchback. Well, that football didn't just go right over the pylon, it actually touched it, and by rule the pylon is considered out of bounds in the end zone, and so it's a touchback. Good call down on the field, and the Steelers start at their 20 up 7. Handoff is to Mendenhall, and Rashard Mendenhall is out to the 30-yard line. And they're going to give Mendenhall a full 10 yards and a first down for the Steelers. The temperature has dropped 3 degrees since we started. Feels like 19. And the wind out of the west at 9 miles per hour. We've seen a missed field goal by Mason Crosby. This is notoriously one of the toughest places to kick in the NFL, whether it's the footing or the wind. Missed a 34-yard try, and it's a 7-point Steeler lead. They fake the handoff to Wallace, drop it off to Mendenhall, who picks up 2. Atari Bigby on the stop for Green Bay. 2 big plays in this game. And it started with a bang. 60 yards out of the hand of Roethlisberger to the rookie Mike Wallace. 1 play from scrimmage and a touchdown for Pittsburgh. And then how about 83 yards to Greg Jennings from Aaron Rodgers to tie the game at 7. But since then it was Mendenhall with a touchdown run, and the Steelers lead by 7. Second down and 8. Roethlisberger surveys the scene, and now a drop from Hines Ward. Wide open over the middle, and Ward couldn't pull it in.
And they go trips to that side, and you're going to see the release up the field. They executed pretty well. They've got Heath Miller going up the field, but then Hines comes off of that, and they get Chiller and Woodson attracted to Heath Miller, which leaves Ward wide open then underneath, and he just fails to make the play.
Another timeout taken by Roethlisberger and the Steelers prior to a 3rd and 8. 7:16 left in the half. Interesting that the Packers have Raji now leaving the field, so only 1 defensive lineman on the field for Green Bay defensively.
Yeah, and that's 77 right there, Colin Jenkins, and this is their psycho package that they ran so effectively last week.
Everybody moving around prior to the snap, and Matthews gets there again. He was the first one there. Bishop got it home as well, and with all those linebackers flying around, the rookie got home.
Well, look, everybody is to the right here. Nobody over on this side of the ball. These linemen right here have nobody to block. I mean, they got to somehow slide that down. They try to. And then in an attempt to do that, it's then trying to figure out who's coming and who's got who, and it's very, very hard on these offensive linemen.
That is officially the first sack for Clay Matthews. The other one was negated by the challenge by the Steelers. And here's Jordy Nelson. Good return. And as we cue Mark Russell, the political satirist, and those fingers tickling the ivory, we remind you to make lunchtime your new prime time. As FoxSports.com brings you lunch with benefits. Log on to check out new episodes of original sports shows delivered to your desktop every Monday through Friday at 1 Eastern. On Tuesday, Packers coach Mike McCarthy joins Brian Billick on Coach Speak, only on and at FoxSports.com on MSN.
You know, we showed that psycho package that the Packers have defensively, and that's part of the fun for these defensive players. When you come in each Wednesday and you're told that you're going to run certain schemes and do some different things, and that's something that Dom Capers has done a great job of this year.
Down by 7. Packers have it. Good starting field position, and now Lee has one go off his chest. And Rodgers has just got his hands on his hips, turns his back to his receivers as if to say, is anybody going to catch anything?
This is very hard. You're going to see Donald Lee. I mean, he's got it, and then James Ferrier, 51, he has to carry that. He never is able to get his head turned around, and a perfect throw hits Donald Lee right in the gut. And as a quarterback, when that happens, I mean, it is hard. It is very, very hard to sometimes keep your emotions in check. Nice job, Rodgers.
I'd say it looked like it hit Ferrier, glanced off his helmet, and changed direction just enough. Here's one for Driver. Bad throw. Driver up to get it. A good catch and a gain of 8. So let's go back to the throw 2 plays ago and watch it glance right there off the side of the helmet of Ferrier, and that changed the direction. It doesn't limit the frustration for Aaron Rodgers. You can see him in the background, but that one I don't think is the fault of
no question. No question. I didn't catch that, and yeah, hard catch when that when that happens. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, is unaware of that unless Donald Lee came back pleading his case.
3rd down and 2. Take the inside handoff. Here's Jennings making a move and has a 1st down. He went right around William Gay. Taylor on the stop, a gain of 8, and a 1st down, Green Bay.
Well, Donald Driver's the same way, and Greg Jennings, you know, when you get the ball into their hands, and so many times we see these types of things from the Green Bay Packers, the quick throws, and then you've got to come up and try to make a play, and it's not always easy to do. You know, William Gay, you don't want to overplay it, and he tries to then be in a position to make the tackle, and Greg Jennings just goes around him.
Hard to believe the cornerbacks for the Steelers don't have an interception all season. Team has only 8. Here's Jennings. And a nice play on 1st down to the 30-yard line. Gay on the stop at a gain of 7, and that's just, it's about as easy as it gets.
Yeah, and this time, instead of Greg Jennings trying to, you know, make him miss, he just gets the ball and runs right over William Gay. And I know in visiting with Mike Tomlin the other day, he said these receivers, in his description of them, they're combative, and that was a compliment. And they're a physical group. They're physical, as we just saw, and they're also physical at the point of the catch.
They're good after the catch with 101 yards after making the reception in this game. Rodgers with a good pocket hits Jones, and James Jones makes a spin and adds to that yardage after the catch. He's got a 1st down, a gain of 12. And the ball is spotted at the 18-yard line.
And we're seeing the missed tackles in this ball game from Pittsburgh also. You know, William Gay has another opportunity. He fails to make it. And, you know, it's those types of things there that we're just not used to seeing from a Pittsburgh defense. You know, they've always been so fundamentally sound. They've never been outplayed physically. They certainly were 10 days ago against Cleveland. But, you know, some of the things that have made them such a great defensive unit for so many years are lacking from this 09 version.
From the 18, Rodgers drops it off, and it's almost intercepted. Off the hands of Woodley after Brandon Jackson couldn't haul in a screen pass.
And Lamar Woodley, who is having a heck of a year, you know, with 9 sacks, and he's got a chance here to make a big play to extend the lead. And I think that kind of falls into the category. There's Troy Polamalu, who they certainly miss, and, you know, not making any excuses for the defense. But, you know, I believe that if he were healthy, he would have changed the outcome in at least a couple of the games this year.
These games have been that close, the losses for Pittsburgh. Rodgers is in trouble and drops it off for Jackson, who makes a move and takes it down inside the 15. Picked up 5. 3rd down and 5 coming up for the Packers. Kershke on the stop for Pittsburgh. There's Travis Kershke, one of the defensive ends. This team lost a good one in Aaron Smith. Defensive end. Played the first 5 games, but suffered a partial tear in his right rotator cuff. Very good against the run. So they missed both Polamalu and Aaron Smith on this defense. 3rd down and 5. Rodgers fakes a throw and takes it into the end zone. Touchdown. And the 4th rushing touchdown of the season for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, they go empty set. You're going to see no back in the backfield. So they got 5 receivers going out. Pittsburgh comes with a 4-man rush. They're locked up, man underneath. And Aaron Rodgers, who is 2nd on the team in rushing. And you've got to be real careful down here when you're playing man coverage against a quarterback that can move the way that Aaron Rodgers can, because that's what happens. Once he's able to get a lane, he can gash you.
And the extra point just got through. Mason Crosby is really struggling. He almost yanked that. And Aaron Rodgers with his 4th rushing touchdown of the season. No quarterback around the NFL has more rushing yards than Aaron Rodgers, and a little pump fake along the way. and then took it into the end zone untouched.
Well, and you know, as we said, he's got great feet. He's able to run, and he makes plays moving around the pocket. You like to have a quarterback that's like that. And as we know, I mean, he throws it as well as anybody. But even when he breaks contain, he is looking to get the ball down the field and make the throw. But a nice job on his part, recognizing the coverage, recognizing it was man-to-man, and then nobody is accounting for him. We'll go back to the problems there with the kicking game. I don't know that I've ever remembered a year where so many kickers are having problems. And you know, kind of joked about it a little bit earlier, you know, changing holders. They did that in Dallas. Tony Romo, now the holder there. I'm wondering what the Green Bay Packers will do, if anything. Maybe they'll change the deep snapper next week. I don't know.
Well, there was speculation that they might bring in some kickers during the week to audition. They didn't do it. That may change heading into next week as Stephon Logan has it on the return, and Logan gets to the 20. That's it. We showed you the NFC playoff picture. Here's the AFC playoff picture. Still undefeated Indianapolis as they came back in a really good game against Jacksonville to go 14-0. San Diego's won 8 straight. Cincinnati, New England, they won today. Indianapolis, by the way, they've already clinched everything they can clinch in the regular season except perfection, and there are the wild card leaders. The Steelers are still alive, but they need to win out and then get help from maybe NATO or somebody to get into the postseason.
Well, that San Diego-Cincinnati game is huge. Cincinnati with a 1-point lead right now, but that could very well be determined the number 2 seed.
Roethlisberger has it batted back in his face. Johnny Jolly got his hand up and knocked it down. With nothing else, this was a Steeler team that suffered 8 sacks. The hands of the Cleveland Browns, a Thursday night game. The Browns, the 32nd ranked defense coming in. And so far, just 1 sack allowed, and it belongs to Clay Matthews as you look at the offensive leaders for Pittsburgh. On 2nd and 10. Screen for Moore, and Mwelde Moore is brought down just shy of the 25. Picked up 4.5. Desmond Bishop, who's getting more playing time now with these extra linebacker packages put to use by Dom Capers, made the tackle.
You know, you talk about the sacks last week, 8 sacks that Ben Roethlisberger had against Cleveland, and Bruce Arians, in visiting with him, I said, you ever talk to Ben about the number of sacks and getting the ball out of his hands? And he said he almost ruined a quarterback years ago when he was a coach at Mississippi State. Didn't say who that was, so he must not have gone on and done much. But he said he doesn't, you know, because he's able to create so many plays when he gets outside the pocket.
Here's that psycho package again by the Green Bay defense. The pass caught by Miller. And Heath Miller is forced out in midfield. They're going to mark him out at the Green Bay 48 with 2:01 left in the half.
Well, A.J. Hawk, he's the one who's in coverage on Heath Miller, and that's a mismatch. I mean, Heath Miller is one of the better tight ends in the league. He runs awfully well. A.J.'s with him stride for stride. He just fails to make the tackle after Miller makes the catch.
A 27-yard catch and run by Heath Miller. 2-minute warning in Pittsburgh. Tied at 14. Pittsburgh has 1 timeout remaining. Tie game, 2 minutes left, and a first down at the Green Bay 48. Roethlisberger throws and completes to Holmes. And Santonio Holmes stays on his feet to the 15. Roethlisberger, who has a new career high for single-season passing yardage, completes for 33 to Santonio Holmes.
Well, Roethlisberger and this offensive line do a great job redirecting themselves to pick up the blitz off the front side that allowed him time then to get the ball to Holmes. First down, Roethlisberger over the middle. Penalty flag is thrown.
Brandon Schiller on the coverage of Heath Miller. Brandon Schiller was just rewarded with a contract extension during the course of the week. And
there are 2 fouls on the play, both by the defense, both by number 54. Illegal contact, number 54, penalties decline. Pass interference, number 54, penalty's been accepted. First and goal.
There's Brandon Schiller. He's the cover linebacker in their sub packages, and he's now trying to get matched up on Heath Miller. And good call there by the officials. Definitely contact was made.
Heath Miller now with the new single season record for catches by a tight end in Steelers history. 64. Eric Green in 1993 had 63. It's first and goal. Roethlisberger in trouble. Down he goes, and guess who? Clay Matthews. A loss of 4, and Matthews has his second of the day.
Well, Clay Matthews is just so tenacious coming off the edge. And this is awfully hard then when you're talking about Max Starks trying to hold up one-on-one with a speed rusher like Clay Matthews, and he just simply hasn't been able to.
Packers have 3 timeouts. They have not elected to use any on defense. It's second down and goal. Quick throw, more, touchdown, Pittsburgh.
Pretty good design right there. You're going to see Santonio Holmes come up here and make the block. And they come up and they get the ball to Mwelde Moore right away, and so he's in right behind it. In essence, it's like playing tailback, and you got a lead blocker right out in front of you. Put it on him, stay in behind your blocker, Holmes, and take it in for a touchdown.
Ben Roethlisberger, while he has set a career high for passing yardage in a season, has had a very good half. 14 of 20, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns now, no interceptions, and here's the big play on the drive.
Well, you talk about the way that Ben Roethlisberger and the offensive line, they're able to redirect because the Packers are bringing blitz here. They shift everybody over to that way, and you're going to hear what Ben did to make it happen. Justin Hartwick, the center, he will come up. He'll make a protection call. But because Roethlisberger is in the shotgun, he then can see where the pressure is coming, and he can redirect the offensive line to make sure that that is blocked up. You heard him say righty, 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 which means everybody then is going to sift to the right, pick up the 2 extra blitzers coming to that side. And by doing that, you then got the protection to get the ball down the field for the big play to Holmes.
223 yards today, 3,569 for the season, already a new career high. And Reed pops it up with under 30 seconds to play in the half, and it goes right through the arms of Jackson. Gets back on the football and takes it across the 25. They're going to say that Jackson is marked down back at the 23. So Jackson signaled for a fair catch, and that's where they're going to mark him down at the 23. Coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, Kurt and Terry will have scores and highlights from around the league. Fox Sports Ticker will keep you updated with up-to-the-second stats.
We heard Howie earlier today on the pregame show talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they've gotten away from what they have been known for in running the football, and how Mike Tomlin may step in next year and kind of get them back to that more of a physical run the football style, and I would agree with that.
Rodgers spins out of trouble and now on the run, flips it for Nelson, who has some room. That's a big first down play now with 24 seconds left and 3 timeouts. The Green Bay Packers have thoughts of getting a score before the half.
First and 10, Packer ball.
24 yards as Rodgers just dumped it over the defense into the arms of Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson, who has been pretty banged up for most of the year, hasn't been able to contribute as much as what he was able to a year ago. But we've seen him on the return game already in this game, but he's a dynamic young player.
And now the Steelers use their final timeout. Talk about these defense coming in. 2 defenses are top 5 defenses around the NFL, and each quarterback has over 220 yards passing in this first half. And now with 18 seconds remaining and 3 timeouts, the ball is at the Green Bay 47.
Well, the Packers defensively came into this game only giving up an average of 18 points a game, and Pittsburgh with 21 here in the first half. I thought this would be a pretty tight ball game, but a lot of explosive plays and a lot of points considering the style of these 2 defensive units.
The longest field goal ever made in the history of this stadium since 2001 is 51 yards. That would mean getting the ball to the Pittsburgh 33-yard line. Rodgers throws and just throws it away. Now 13 seconds remain. Jordy Nelson, the closest one to it. You look at Clay Matthews.
At the 47-yard line.
Matthews has a couple of sacks in this game, and his family has dealt with the Steelers over the years. His dad Clay was a linebacker with the Cleveland Browns forever, and his uncle Bruce, a Hall of Fame offensive lineman with the Oilers and Titans.
They set the standard pretty high in the Matthews family.
13 seconds left. Pass is complete to Nelson, who will get out of bounds, stop the clock. 7 seconds left. And they're getting awfully close to field goal range. The Packers have one crack at trying to make it more realistic. And Nelson was good for 11.
And another missed tackle, and although he really didn't get any more yardage out of it, what he was able to do was stop the clock. And if Burnett was able to make that tackle, then Green Bay would have been forced to call the timeout. They've still got plenty left, but they've got a chance to get one more shot, and they can work the entire field and try to come away with a field goal.
Crosby's already missed one try this end of the field, and that to Greg Jennings may force Aaron Rodgers now to take one heave toward the end zone and hope for a defensive penalty or something miraculous to get points before the half.
Boy, you got Aaron Rodgers now in this first half who's thrown for over 230 yards in the game, and yet it could have been so much better here in the first 30 minutes. I mean, so many opportunities that they have failed to connect on, whether it's drop passes or just some errant throws on his part.
Only 4 seconds left. Into the end zone and through the back end of the end zone. That's how the half comes to a close. It's a 7-point Pittsburgh lead. The 6-7 Steelers against the 9-4 Packers. The Visa halftime is coming up. The home team, Pittsburgh, up 21-14.